Okay, in this screencast, we're going to take a look at parametric modeling as described in activity 8.2, parametric constraints. This activity, you're going to learn how to utilize the parametrics tool, where you can, instead of using discrete numbers for dimensions, you can use expressions, formulas, where one dimension can basically control all the others. And this table gives you the expressions, and most of these are based off of D0, which is the first dimension you apply. So we're going to do a simple look at just these first 3 or 4 dimensions and how they apply to this object. So we're going to start with Inventor. And we're going to create a part. And we're simply going to start by drawing a rectangle. Let's start in the XY plane. And just use my rectangle tool and just sketch out a rectangle. And center that. And the first thing we'll do is apply a dimension to the right side of this rectangle. And what you'll notice is whenever you create a first dimension, it's designated D0. And this one is 3 inches. So we'll just type in 3. We'll zoom back out, recenter. And so our first dimension's now applied. And this next dimension on the other side of the rectangle was given to us as 5/3 times dimension 0, which was the 3 inches. And one way you can do this is just simply to use the formula in the expression D0 times 5/3. And so what we do to get the D0, we can simply type D0, and you see it went from red to black, indicating it understands that's an actual value. Or we can click on the D0 number right there on the sketch. I'll put it into the dimension. And then we can use the star symbol, Shift 8, which is going to tell me to multiply. And then in parentheses, I'll use 5/3. Close parentheses. And I could put inches here or leave it as no number. In this case, I can leave it as no number, no unit. And you'll see that there's a fx now shown in with the dimension, meaning that there's a formula. Okay, a formula is being applied to there, and if I click on it, I can go and edit that formula, and there you see inches was put back into my equation. And I could change that if I needed to adjust that formula. I could adjust it, bring that back. It's asking for 5/3. And you'll see the neat thing about using this tool is that if I did change this initial value, say I make that 5, this formula and this rectangle will keep its proportion. Okay, so that was the first step of this. And so that step is done, so I can finish the sketch. And I'm ready to extrude this. And the dimension for the extrusion is 1/20 of D1. So we'll go extrude. And so basically I want D1 divided by 20. So I'll get D1, D1 divided by 20. There you go. So I have those formulas are now embedded. And we come back to this original sketch. So this is good. I've got the number 5. But what if I want to see the formulas on the sketch instead of actually seeing the expression or the result of the formula? I can go into the tools, and under document settings, I can select units, and I can change this to display as an expression. I can also change the value and make this metric centimeters or feet even. But at this point I want to leave it as inches, but I do want to change to display as expression. And this is one way to show that a student's applied the correct function. So I've got D0 equals 3 inches, and then this function D1 equals D0 times 5 inches over 3 inches. And that only applies to this sketch. If I go, unlike some other settings, if I go and change, when I create a new sketch now, or a new part, I would have to reapply that if I want to see those expressions. All right, and now I can look at under the Manage tab, I can look at the parameters here, the function parameters, and I'll bring up a table. And so these are the functions that have been applied to this sketch. And so we've got the 3-inch D0, got the formula for D1, a formula for D2, and there's also a D3, which we did not create a D3, and this pertains to the extrusion. Basically, we didn't taper that extrusion, so it was 0-degree angle. And the activity has students changing the name. Instead of calling it D0, they may want to call this depth. Okay, so I can do it one of two ways. I can make it as a comment. I can write depth. Okay, or I could change the actual value here, the parameter, and so this one, D1, is the width. So there's two ways you can do it. Now when I come back and look at my sketch, now it's telling me in the one, in the second method where I changed D1 to width, it's telling me width equals there. And the other one, I just created it as a comment. It doesn't show up on the actual sketch. So that could be a user preference, but I kind of like to see it there. And if I go back to change that from expression back into tolerance units, under document settings again, go to units, change that back to display tolerance, hit apply. Okay, and you'll see now I've lost that title. So I can go back to the manage and look under parameters.